And we are back again. It's your friendly neighborhood film watchers. Frankly, football in the building. I am your humble host, Brandon, and I got my man, 100 Grand with me. Set it off, Chris, in the building. How you feeling, Chris?
Hey man, it's Tuesday, baby. We doing what we do, man. We getting into this process, man. Want to deal with all the ups and downs and
Mhm.
highs and lows and cries and no cries and
You know it.
all the different things that come with being a Dallas Cowboy fan. Crazy week in review, bro. Crazy week in review with everything that went along in free agency. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Yes, sir. So last time we met, Chris, we talked about how um, the Cowboys were not doing the front office anyway. Seem to have not been able to do their part in free agency. Um, we might have overreacted a little bit, man. I'll be the first to admit it. You know,
okay.
they are notoriously slow to act in free agency. And it's on us to know that about them. Don't you think so?
If we've been riding this train with Stephen Jones as a conductor for the Dallas Cowboys in free agency, we must know at all times day one doesn't matter. The
Mhm.
tampering period doesn't matter. They love their guys. And they want to get their guys back as economically as possible.
Yes.
That's another code word for cheap. If you look at the numbers that they put out after the Randy Gregory debacle, and I'm not even going back and forth about the fan base and with Randy, peace and blessings and prosperity and health to that brother. I hope nothing but the best for him. I hope everything goes well. But with everybody they brought in, they started the whole thing off. If you remember on that Tuesday, Malik Hooker got signed first,
Yeah.
2 years, $8 million.
Mm-hmm.
So we just gonna look at the math. 8 million for Malik Hooker. You turned around. The only thing that anybody's ever had a problem with is Dalton Schultz being signed for the franchise tag for 11 million.
Yeah.
So they did that. They made the deal with DeMarcus Lawrence, guaranteeing his whole contract, getting all his money. So now he's at $10 million a year.
Yeah.
So now you come back into this week, you bring in Dante Fowler,
Mm-hmm.
a high draft pick, on the back and the strength of Dan Quinn because of the ability of Dan Quinn bringing guys in last year, a DeMonte Casey, a Neal, and bringing those guys in. Say, okay, hey, I worked him before. He'll come in and work hard. You got him in the fold. You got the most important. You got the two most important guys signed today. You got Jaron Curse, which really gives you the pass rusher you were trying to get when you looked at this Darius Smith and anybody else. Because Micah Parsons doesn't have to be the green dot. Micah Parsons can just be the chess piece. That's how vital Jaron Curse was. By signing him, you got your pass rusher, which is Micah Parsons, and you got your other linebacker who can move all over the place, which is Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? And then you got your other defensive piece that nobody's been thinking about, um, is the
Right.
punter.
Anger.
Right? Yeah, with Mr. Anger. All pro, second team all pro, great field position guy, punted well, gives your defense gives the defense some leverage. Then you
Excellent field
sprinkled up a
position. That's
excellent
what
field.
that's what I
Thank you.
think that
Hmm.
is not appreciated about what Anger brings to the team.
Oh
Um,
yeah, without question.
he is
Yeah.
extremely consistent with
Hmm.
giving the defense excellent field position, and that
Hmm.
is what will allow guys like uh like Parsons, like
Hmm.
Lawrence, like whoever we get
Hmm.
on the opposite end
Hmm.
to pressure opposing quarterbacks. So we have to be able to appreciate that we can get them back for relatively small amounts of money. Three million a year is not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things. That may be a lot for a special teams guy. I'm not really sure how much punters make. I'm not really sure about those dollars. Uh, but I'm happy to have him back. Now on Jaron Curse, I want to compare him to like someone else. I'm just gonna give you some numbers, and I'll give the name in just a second. This first person was a second team All Pro. He had 98 tackles, 63 of which were solo, 8 tackles for loss, 3 QB hits, 7 passes deflected, 3 interceptions, and 1 fumble recovered.
Last year?
In 2021.
Okay. He's second team All Pro.
Yes, second team All Pro.
Okay.
Now in 2021, Jaron Kearse had 101 tackles, 67 of which were solo, 10 tackles for loss, 6 QB hits, 10 passes deflected, 2 interceptions, and 1 fumble recovered. Do you know who the mystery man that I mentioned was?
Jeffrey Simmons from the Denver Broncos.
Not quite.
Yes. Okay.
Buda Baker.
Oh.
It could be argued that Jaron Kearse equally performed or outperformed Buda Baker in multiple categories, yet did not get that All Pro designation. I don't think much of Pro Bowls, but I value All Pro heavily because it is an unbiased.
Okay.
It's an unbiased award that is given to the players. So I think that you get a All Pro level safety for not much money at all. You got him for $5 million a year.
Yo, that's crazy, and that's got to go up on Twitter, man, to just show the importance and the value. I think we as Cowboys Nations understood how valuable he is. I think for us, we saw the fact of the matter that Micah didn't have to be the green dot. And I think we looked with Micah with being a young player with a different duality that he had as a player, being an edge rusher and playing linebacker. But to have a guy smart enough in the back end, physical enough in the back end, rangy enough in the back end, and was making plays. But to liken him to the work that Buda Baker's put in, I think that kind of put the Cowboys to the point of saying, you know what? Let's sign him for this money. The rest of the league doesn't understand his value. And I think after that 2-year deal, like I tweeted to him, it lines him up for him to have another big payday. Because if he goes next year, and then the contract year that year, he can have the opportunity to get a super big contract that he's looking for if he continues to play the way he plays.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And one extra little bit of added information. Buda Baker did outplay snap-wise in Jaron Kearse. Buda Baker played about 23 more snaps on the year. Not a large amount in the grand scheme of things, but I could say that is about a quarter of a game, maybe even a half a game.
Listen, I don't care what it was. It was 23 more snaps, 23 more opportunities, and Kearse still played up to the same level as he has. And so all you're saying is that Buda Baker has been putting this on film year after year after year. Yes. Jaron Kearse did it last year. So now you're expecting Jaron Kearse to be in the system for a whole year, learn it more, be more effective, more explosive, and have an opportunity to be even more special next year. And like I said, I think that gives him the ability to unleash Micah Parsons to the next level, which is scary in itself for a guy being a rookie and having 13 sacks and being the defensive rookie player of the year. Now he gets that whole season. We're going to talk about that a little bit later to improve and what's next for Micah Parsons.
That's right. Let me ask you this though, Chris. Does retaining Kearse stop you from drafting the safety?
Well, here's the thing. Cowboys don't value the safety position. We have Israel Imukwamu on the roster right now. We have Donovan Wilson on the roster right now. Both of those guys were late round and undrafted guys. So the Dallas Cowboys don't value the safety position. They think they can go get a guy off the street or a fifth or sixth rounder. Um, so I don't think they're going to draft a safety at all. I think they're going to come bring in a free agent guy and see what they find with him.
Mm.
I don't think they value that position. And then with the addition of Malik Hooker, who they just signed, um, now I don't see them drafting a safety at all.
Mm.
I'm only going by their current history because they haven't done it. They haven't really done it in the past very high.
Okay.
But Israel was a seventh rounder, right?
He was a fifth rounder.
Okay.
No, sixth rounder.
Sixth round.
But
Okay.
here's
I'm
the
sorry.
thing: he wasn't a safety coming out. He was a corner.
Okay.
Israel Mukuamu out of
Yeah.
South
Carolina.
Carolina,
South Carolina, right.
if I'm
Okay.
remembering the school correctly.
Right.
But he
So
was a sixth rounder, late round guy. He just has the size, and I think that's why they're moving him to safety.
okay. So
Huge guy.
okay. Okay. So I'm not really pressed to think that they're going to do that with him or draft a safety. So I don't think that it's not about changing it. I just don't think they value it.
That's very fair. Now here's what I would say: in a perfect world, in a world where you just draft the best player available, retaining Jaron Kearse would not stop me from drafting a safety at all. He's here for 2 years. If they are committed to year 2023 and beyond, I would absolutely look at drafting a safety because, hey, why not? There are very few positions. There may only be one position where I would not draft a guy if that position was the best player available, and that's quarterback. Otherwise, hey, any position can get drafted.
Okay.
We'll talk about that with our next video, of course.
No doubt. But yeah, man, that's the thing that you gotta look at. So if you look at the week in review, I think we went over everybody. We brought Leighton Vander Esch back for a ham sandwich and a I don't know, kind of cold Gatorade.
Yeah, he liked playing football, man. That's all it is. He just liked playing football.
I think he's still on a redemption tour too, because I think if he says I play 1 year, another year not being hurt,
Yep.
and I get to put more tape out, and I'm going to get a chance to play. And even if he can capture just brief glimpses of his 2008, 2017, 2018 tape, somebody else will pay him more than $3 million.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
I think that's a great situation for him. But I think they're done. I honestly, truly believe they're done in free agency.
I gotta agree with you. So as it stands right now, the Cowboys have just over 21 million in cap space. Now you have to generally allocate about $9 million for a rookie class. So theoretically they have about $12 million left for free agents. But I don't think that they're going to spend anything. I think that they'll just, let their money just sit and they'll carry it over into the next year. And they'll just go like that.
But my problem with that is this: you signed a contract. You had, in straight out theory, a 5-year, $70 million contract that you were going to pay Randy Gregory.
Yeah,
you were going to pay him that money. You knew in a real world you were probably going to give Dorrance Armstrong that contract you gave him. It wasn't like Dorrance wasn't an afterthought because of Randy. Dorrance's contract was always there, waiting in the wings. They were going to, because he was a depth guy. Okay, if you look at that DN room right now, it is DeMarcus Lawrence, Dorrance Armstrong, Chauncey Golston, who was highly disrespected, and Dante Fowler. Yeah. Those are your four, and Terrell Basham. That's 5 defensive ends right now. Terrell Basham is on this roster. Terrell Basham got hurt. That's the only reason Terrell Basham didn't come back. When Terrell it was to the point Terrell Basham didn't get any burn in the end of the season because of the play of Dorrance. Randy was an every down starter. DeMarcus, who was back, he was playing. And the guy who got kind of pushed inside was Chauncey Golston. Like when people start talking about this defensive end room, you've got this guy there who you thought would be a um, replacement level guy for DeMarcus Lawrence if anything were to happen to him.
Yeah.
So those are your 5 to 6 defensive ends. So I don't think they were ever thinking about any of the guys that we thought they should have went after free agency. I think they're absolutely done.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And that's just because when would they ever splurge on multiple big money guys, especially, at the same position. You mentioned defensive end. They've already signed, one defensive end, outside defensive end. Why would they get more than one?
But that's what I'm saying. But they don't spend. That's the one key component that they don't exercise in team building.
Yeah.
Because when we talk here on Franklin Football and all the other different platforms, we talk about team building. They don't use that attribute of team building, which is free agency. They believe that we draft so well and we develop our people so well that we don't need to go into the draft or we don't need to participate in free agency. And then once we turn around and we value our guys here, because we thought, man, Jaron Kearse been out on the market for a whole week. Somebody's bound to want to get him. When at the end of the day, he was more important to us than anyone else. Because there are other teams that have their own Jaron Kearse. The guys that we lost are the guys that we traded away, or the only guy that we actually physically lost that we felt like, hey, was a game changer was our fourth wide receiver. Our fourth wide receiver, which is Cedric Wilson. We couldn't get Connor Williams to the bus station fast enough, right? We couldn't get him there to the bus station. We weren't gonna fly him. Lyle, we kicked out the door. Amari, we gave away for a hot Gatorade. Name another guy.
Now, here's the thing, though, Chris. Here's the thing. I think that when it comes to Ced Wilson, as much as I liked his skill set, you can find Ced Wilson this year. You can find Ced Wilson in the draft this year. As much as I liked his skill set, and as much as I wish that we would have retained his skills and his services, you can find Ced Wilson this year. There are a few Cedric Wilsons in the draft this year. So that kind of is what it is. Dorrance was a guy that I felt that they would have retained because he was a big special teams guy. Dorrance was big on special teams.
Okay.
So, he had other uses besides being your bookend opposite DeMarcus Lawrence. If Dante Fowler was not signed, he just would have had to be the next man up. That's the sad reality of things. But his main use was being that special teams ace,
Okay. I mean, I think you wanted to be a special team ace, that's fine. And that may have been great. But I think they loved him so much. But going back to what we said before, they don't venture out into the vast ocean of free agency world.
That's absolutely
to go
correct.
get that guy. So we're going to walk in the next year with $12 million. We're second most in the cap. Mm-hmm. So the question goes back, if you're never going to sign, and then we can talk about all the other guys who we're talking about we may get rid of next year, and we're not diving off into that ocean, but you had $14 million set aside. You had what? Yeah, you had $14 million set aside for one pass rusher. You turned around at the end of the day, you retained 12 of that. Even after you take money for your rookie class. So my question is, was it ever an intent to sign this guy? And when you did sign him and you had the money back, you never spend the money. It's like we want to walk into the room. We're so prudent that we got extra money saved over for next year. And for what? Because we sure as hell ain't going to spend it.
That goes back to a previous conversation that we had. You know, are they posturing for another guy? You know, at the helm. That's
Even
something that's something
even
that we have
even
to
if they
ask.
get the, but see, here's okay. Even if you posture for another guy, right?
Hmm.
If you're trying to set up for Spidey, the question is, what are you willing to go spend money on? Because as this team is constructed right now, we were 12-5 last year. Right now, as you look at it, and we're going to talk about it more, your 3 or 4 different pieces that you need to get,
Hmm.
but you're basically bringing the whole game back to try to run it back in the next year. So, what are you going to need so drastic in 23 that you're willing to go out and spend big money on? Because when you needed to go spend big money on the defensive end, you didn't. You went to Family Dollars, you went to Burlington, you went and found some hot stuff at Marshalls, and you brought it and put it on the rack and said it's just as good as the stuff I already had.
Don't sleep on Marshalls, man. Don't sleep on Marshalls.
No. Well, hold on, bro. I just said, I mean, Marshalls is dope. But what I'm saying is, if you're gonna go, but you didn't spend no big ticket items.
Yeah.
Nobody caught you. Nobody caught you walking out the Invictus store, the Invictus
Hmm.
watch store. Nobody caught you coming out of K Jewelers with some BBs on. They didn't catch you doing that. They caught you walking out of Ross, caught you walking out of Marshalls, caught you walking out of Dollar General, and you got pieces you gonna hang up and say, hey, they're just as good.
Hmm.
And that don't make sense if you're trying to win a championship, because everybody we saw that tried to go win a championship, the 2 teams we saw in the Super Bowl this year, one team pushed all their chips to the middle of the table, said let's go get it. The
Yeah.
other team got lucky as heck and got to the bowl. So what Dallas is saying, I'm not going to push all my chips to the middle of the table. I'm just going to wait on Lady Luck to come in and help me win. And that don't make sense. And we as a fan base don't believe that that's the way it should go.
So I had a conversation. Had a conversation about that. Foots the King put up a tweet about that.
Okay.
They shout out to Foots. And he asked how many times has going all in really been successful outside of the Rams, because we know about the Rams. So I went ahead and did a little bit of deep diving, and I figured out that in the past 12 years, the dozen years since 2010, going back beyond that, really not necessary, because the cap and contracts were totally different than what they are now. But since 2010, you had the Buccaneers of 2020, the Eagles of 2018, and the Broncos of 2015. So you have 4 seasons out of 12 that it succeeded. So essentially a 1 in 3 chance, right?
Okay.
So you have a 33% chance where going all in works, based on that sample size. Do you think that that would be something that would be worth it?
Let me ask you this question. My dog is barking because he's saying hell yeah. Because when you are in the company of Detroit, the Commanders, aka football teams, right? And you are the teams that have not represented the NFC and the NFC championship, you goddamn right, you go all in. You put everything to the middle of the table and say, let's go after it. And the thing about it is that you don't have to per se throw everything to caution to the wind, because you have talented players on your football team. It's not like you are devoid of talent. You need 1 or 2 pieces to tweak the whole thing. That's the problem. So we all made all these different assumptions about Randy Gregory, this, that, and the third. Oh, we were waiting on potential. Okay, you messed that up. Whatever, whoever's the fault, whoever's to blame, his true feelings came out after he got out the door. That's fine. But if you said right then and there, if you wanted to say, hey, go get another linebacker, another young linebacker on the right side of 30, right, with the ability to play. You could have went and got Miles Jack. Miles Jack didn't get a whole bunch of money. Could have brought him in. If he was really serious about making that push to go to the next level, and then even drafting guys who could be potential 1-year guys in the back to get their bodies right, see if they can come contribute in spot duty. It's a 17-game season. People get hurt. You could have went and drafted a premium pass rusher, but you didn't. You turned around. You botched the deal with Gregory. You turn around. You got 23 million sitting right now. You are right now, as we live and breathe. We walked into this thing, 20 million over the cap. We gonna end free agency 23 million. We were 20 million over the cap. We gonna finish 23 million under the cap. It's absolutely unacceptable for a franchise saying, I want to go all in, and I'm looking at 26 years of not having got to not to the Super Bowl, just to the goddamn NFC Championship game. Absolutely unacceptable, man.
So let me ask you this, because I feel like a lot of these other teams don't have the luxury of drafting as well as we do. Do you think that holds that same weight? And when I say that, I mean free agency. Do you think that free agency holds that same weight when we draft well? Do you think that we don't attack free agency as heavily because we think that we can, go into the draft and address those concerns there?
My problem is this: drafting is 1/3 of the formula. We are trying to make a pound cake with no eggs. The eggs is the kicker in free agency. We trying to make a pound cake with no sugar or no lemon extract. And you keep trying to eat this damn cake, but you keep saying something's missing. Something just ain't quite right. You have to go get a piece, a player, a guy who helps do a couple different things. He has to come in. He's got to have miles still left on the tires. He's got to have a different view of the league compared to what you got. Of everybody that's in that room, nobody in that room of that football team has looked at what success looks like at playing at an optimal playoff and championship level. We could be damned about the regular season. We do that all the time. Mm-hmm. We need somebody who knows what it takes to get to that upper echelon in playoff time. And name a guy on that roster right now who has that. Oh, I got you. And I hate this guy. Keith Sweat said it best. Nobody.
You got me right there. I can't say anything about it. But at the same time, there's only one champion per year. Everybody's 0-0 right now. You know.
And listen, we 0-26.
Fair.
Okay, we owe in the last 4 years of getting into the playoffs. We get to the divisional round. Dude, the goal with all this talent, with all the exposure, with everything we put into it, the divisional round should be something we should totally get into. Dude, we haven't been a wild card team in 16 years. That means having been good enough that if we don't win the division, then we're competitive enough and good enough to make it as a wild card team. Mm-hmm. Either we win as a divisional winner or we don't get in at all. And that's a key component of not being a championship or a consistently viable franchise in the league. We're relevant because of the star. The star makes us relevant. But what makes us to the point of being saying we can be a competitor? For people to say that the Super Bowl window has closed on Dak Prescott in the first full year of his contract is blasphemous. And the reason they believe that is because we don't add that added ingredient of free agency. There should have been it should have been more than two guys. It should have been more than James Washington, and it should have been more than Dante Fowler brought in from the outside to give this team the opportunity to look at trying to go win in the postseason, to go win to the next level.
I agree. But I also think that the offense itself, the players, the players on the field, we know they got the talent. they got to execute. You know, of course, the line a little shaky now. We'll talk about that in our next video. But the players on the field have to be able to execute. But I also think that, you know, there were some guys as the year went on, the coaching kind of got figured out and it never was able to recover from that. That's something that's going to have to be figured out as we dive into the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as what we talk about for right now for this overview and what we're looking to and what we're expecting more from this franchise, I think we pretty much, you know, hit on all of it. We got plenty of time to talk about the coaching because here at
Yeah.
Franklin Football, coaching matters. Uh, and so that's gonna be the next component we're gonna be able to talk to down the road. But I think what we need to do is say this. If you done been on here this long with me and Brandon and you've watched this to this point, man, we appreciate you. We want you to make sure that you hit the like button, man, and that you also subscribe. Also, take a minute or two to drop us a comment. We appreciate the comments y'all put on the last couple of videos.
Yes,
Showing
sir.
us love, putting your thoughts out there so we can get it into the algorithm. But what most importantly, man, we want to make sure that you rock with us at every given point.
Mm-hmm.
Give us feedback, man, so we can see if what we're saying, if we're not just shooting into the dark, you know, or we're just totally off base, man. But of all things, most importantly, man, I'm your homeboy, Set It Off Chris, and that's my dude Brandon, man. And we are Frankly Football, baby.
Peace.
Peace.